Everyone, and welcome to DREAMLEAPERS. I'm your host, Harriette Cole, and today I have two guests, two amazing creators working in the arts who are going to present an event just in a couple of days, and we are getting the inside scoop talking to them just before. Let me tell you who's with me today. We'll be celebrating art and legacy with two remarkable guests who are helping bring a landmark cultural event to life through history and music. Maya Days and Paul Alexander are joining us today as they prepare for Women in Jazz, a concert hosted by Hunter College, celebrating the legendary careers of Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, Lena Horne, and more, as well as the school's acquisition of the Billie Holiday Papers. So incredible. A priceless collection that adds to Hunter's growing jazz archive. Maya Days is a powerhouse Broadway performer whose career has spanned some of the most iconic shows of our time, including Rent, Aida, and Jesus Christ Superstar. Maya has captivated audiences around the world and continues to push the boundaries of performance across genres. And Paul Alexander is the Provost Scholar of the Arts and Humanities at Hunter College, a distinguished author, journalist, and cultural historian whose work has appeared in the New York Times, The Nation, and Rolling Stone, among others. His commitment to elevating the arts, preserving cultural legacies, and shaping conversations around history and creativity make him a leading voice in academia and beyond. Well, at the upcoming concert, Maya will be featured alongside fellow Broadway and jazz stars Lily Cooper, Hilary Cole, and Madeline Peru, with music led by Ryan Cabarrel's 15-piece jazz orchestra. So today, we'll explore Maya's Broadway journey, Paul's work in the arts and humanities, the significance of preserving Billie Holiday's legacy, and why this concert is such a vital celebration of women in jazz and American cultural history. Please join me now in welcoming Maya Days and Paul Alexander.
Good morning.
Hello. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So I first have to tell you that I have a long relationship with Hunter College. I met Jennifer Rabb, the previous president, I'm going to tell you exactly, about 22 years ago when there was a blackout in New York City, and I was very pregnant, and she and the school rescued me as I was walking up the street. And remember that blackout? It was completely dark everywhere, and the school was lit because of the generator. And we began a long-term relationship, and I actually taught at Hunter for 6 years. So I have a love for Hunter, and in particular, there are more than 100 countries represented in the student body at Hunter College. So Paul, could you just speak to the dynamism of this campus and what it means globally to have so many people from so many walks of life be a part of it?
Well, first of all, I was hired at Hunter when Jennifer was the president. And the series that I do now called American Voices at Hunter College, Jennifer actually funded originally. So I have a fond place in my heart for Jennifer, who's gone on to greener pastures. Sure. But we're an incredibly diverse student body. Well over 40% of our student body is Hispanic or African American. We have a very large Asian, probably 25% Asian population. So if you look for diversity, Hunter College is sort of that. We're the largest campus within the City University of New York. We currently have about 23,000 students, graduate and undergraduate. And we place more Fulbright scholars than any other campus in the CUNY system. So if you want diversity, if you want academic excellence, and really a cultural experience that's hard to get at schools these days, that's what you can get at Hunter College.
Yeah, I'm so incredibly impressed. And well, we can't avoid talking politics a little bit. So I do have to ask this one question. Given what Hunter represents, this global pulse point, what's happening with this anti-DEI? Is there, because, for example, I now teach at FIT, and a bunch of students couldn't come back because their visas weren't honored. So that has impacted, how many courses are offered, all kinds of things. I'm just curious about the ability of the college.
We've had challenges with the current political climate. We do have a lot of international students, and we're very proud of the international student community that we have. Our feeling is, though, Hunter started as an all-women's college many years ago, and it was very much involved in the second wave feminist movement, with particularly because Bella Abzug has had a long association with the school. And so we are not going to change our cultural and social commitments, societal commitments. It's just a challenging time, and I think that our administration is doing the best that it can to deal. But it is a challenge, and we're aware of it.
Sure.
We have a dean of diversity. We're still going to have a dean of diversity. There's no plans to change that. He's a great man. John Rose is a wonderful academic. And so Hunter is Hunter. We have no plans to change.
Well, kudos to you and the school and administration. And, these are interesting times, and arts in general are being challenged as well. And so I think it's wonderful that you all are putting on this particular program with women in jazz. I have another story for you. When I was growing up, I'm from Baltimore, and my father loved jazz. And Sarah Vaughan was at the top of the list. We would listen. So this is I'm dating myself, but let's say the 60s and 70s. And at a certain point, he had music. We had a basement and upper level, and he got quadraphonic sound. So you could turn upstairs as well as downstairs or wherever you wanted. And it was Sarah Vaughan, it was Billie Holiday, it was Lena Horne. It was the people you're honoring in this presentation. So Maya, I'm curious for you, because you've done so much work on Broadway and now you're doing this piece. Tell us about your heart relationship to these divas.
Well, growing up, I'm going to date myself too, I listened to all the same vocalists. My mother had Lady in Satin that we played record player. We had the Lady Sings the Blues version, the Quincy, the Diana Ross version, the triple album, the double triple album, whatever that was. And I would sit, the speakers were on the floor because our speakers were me, and I would take the album and put it over my head, like create a dome and lie on the floor and just listen until it went
right.
Get up and pick it up and go like this, because the record player that we had didn't automatically do it.
So wait, I just have to say, so for anybody who's listening who doesn't understand what we're talking about, but actually probably many people do, because I have a 21-year-old and she was given a gift of a record player because the kids are liking the vintage stuff.
Yes.
But literally, there were record players that didn't have that mechanical arm that lifted and went back. So it did scratch and then you had to bring it back. I love this story, Maya.
Thank you.
Maya, do you see who's over my head?
I mean, it is warming my heart. And
this is the album she's talking about. This is from the album she's talking about.
It's making me so happy. And it's bringing me back to that safe place, that beautiful, that place. And I found this, and my father was a jazz musician. His name is Joe Thomas, and he tenor sax and flautist. And we'd listen to his records as well, all instrumental stuff.
Nice.
And I know
music. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was weird. Well, Daddy wasn't there. We didn't know Daddy, but we knew his music.
Okay.
And so, which made it even more profound Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if you know what I mean, but I feel like,
Well, I understand what you're saying, that his
Right.
presence was there. And I mean, this is an important point because for many families, daddy is not physically present,
Yes.
but to have such a meaningful presence,
Right.
it makes you smile.
It does. It does. It was just very, very different. But circling back around to these amazing, iconic goddesses of women in any industry, let alone jazz or whatever. I mean, these women were just goddesses, period. And their ability to tell a story was like no other. I mean, that's the thing with Billie for me. She always told a story where you had Lena, Lena is amazing, but where you had Sarah and Ella, who vocally were just insane in terms of ability, right? They also told stories, but Billie, for me, was the ultimate storyteller because her range wasn't giant, because there were no tricks with her voice. It was pure tone and just storytelling. Not just storytelling. I'm sorry, emotion. Everything was emotional. So for me, that's where I gravitated toward that approach. And that's been my thing my whole entire life. So although I've done things like these pop rock operas, I still approach them from a place of storytelling rather than vocal prowess. I don't know if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah. So in this performance, Maya, what can you tell us what you're singing, or at least some of it?
No, I do. So I'll be singing "Someone to Watch Over Me."
Yeah.
I will be singing "Stormy Weather." I'm going to be singing "I've Got a Crush on You," and then with Billie, I'll be singing "God Bless the Child" and "Good Morning Heartache." A little bit of a mashup.
With Billie, what do you mean?
Because I feel like whenever I'm singing anything that Billie has sung, I'm channeling her emotion. Because for me, that's always been the most important thing. We can impress people with talent, right? We can impress people. Can always impress people with ability, I feel. But if you can make someone feel something, someone viscerally feel something, that stays with a human. That stays with a person. Having them feel what you're saying, singing, just anything that you're presenting to them, if they can feel what you are presenting to them, it just stays with them forever. And that is the most important thing to me with music, is that you feel something. Sure. And with Billie, I feel like she's just with me whenever I open my mouth and sing anything that has to do with Billie. It's not a performance per se. I'm not sure that I can articulate it, but
it's a channel.
Well, I can. She channels her is what she's doing.
And it's
you hear Billie's emotion coming through Maya's voice. I've seen the rehearsal already for this show that Maya did, and her mashup of "God Bless the Child" and "Good Morning Heartache." You just haven't seen anything like that before. The way she does it is astonishing.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, and the songs again, the story that all of these songs tell, because they're obvious stories, they're genuine stories, and they're relatable stories to all. So
I think that was part of the reason why my father liked playing this music for us, because even when we were little, it was safe to hear. It was something there was no bad word in there, and no rude or raw sentiment as life, but something that you could talk about through the generations. Right. So, Paul, I'm curious, are you part of the curation of this show?
Yeah, the whole show. I put the whole show together.
You put the show together.
I have a series at Hunter called American Voices, and it's a series that we present lectures and musical events, basically. And so I wanted to put together a show that would feature these four women Because if you think about it, the jazz of this period, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s, which is basically Billie's lifetime, and these other three women, the men played the instruments. So jazz, the instruments were played by men, but the voice of jazz belonged to the women. I know there was Frank. I know there was Lewis.
There were a couple of them in the mix.
There were a couple of them, but look at all. And these four women together, just imagine what America culture would be like if we didn't have the bodies of work of these four women.
Oh, that's
it
true.
Would be a different culture.
Absolutely.
And so I wanted to put together an evening to make that point. And Hunter let me do it.
Hey guys, 1 second. Let me just let folks know this is Dream Leapers with Harriette Cole. We are talking to two wonderful creators, folks who have a program that's coming this weekend at Hunter College, and we're talking about all about the creation of this program. So I'm very excited to have you with us today, Maya and Paul. Yes, Maya, you wanted to say something.
Okay, first, I'm so sorry that I interrupted you. It's all right. Secondly, Paul brought up Frank Sinatra, and Paul has written a 1 million page, 1 million book. It felt like, because I did the audiobook for it.
And she did the audiobook for it.
And it was, it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. And he delved deep into Billie's life and spoke to anyone that was surviving, that has survived, Paul got in touch with and spoke to. So he really went to the core of who knew Billie and things, so on and so forth. But one of the things about Frank that Paul knew, and that most people know, but Paul really got into, was that Frank and Ava Gardner would go see Billie once a week. And they just loved Billie. Frank loved Billie Holiday to the core, to the point when he went to go see her in the hospital on her deathbed. And then he locked himself in his penthouse for 2 weeks and would not come out. But the biggest thing is Frank has publicly stated that his phrasing came directly from Billie. Frank Sinatra's phrasing came.
I love that he acknowledged it because this is a new concept.
In Ebony magazine in the summer of '58, he wrote an article under his name in which he paid tribute to Billie and basically said that the way he sang was a result of him studying her on stage. And what is he known for? He's known for his phrasing.
Right, Harriette?
Phrasing.
Well, Paul,
so often people take and just pretend like they came up with it themselves. And what is wrong with acknowledging the legacy, the connection, all of that? I just want to tell folks about what the name of your book is so that they know. It's Bitter Crop, The Heartache and Triumph of Billie Holiday's Last Year. And this just came out. Is that right, Paul?
It just came out in paperback a couple of months ago. It was published in 2024.
Great. So, learning about our greats, I think, is very important. Learning the history. There have been a lot of interesting stories about her, including that film that Andrew Day performed in. But I'm so glad that you have contributed through a literary project to help us learn more about her. What are you hoping people will come away with from your performance, Women in Jazz?
Again, a visceral feeling of joy and understanding that we are all, we're all human beings, not sociopaths. That's
interesting.
That they actually feel something and they respond to the feeling when their hearts and their souls have been touched. First of all, the talent in this show is off the chain. Yesterday, when we did the Seth Rudetsky show, I was with Lily Cooper. She's a superstar. I don't say that often. I just don't. She is a superstar.
Tell us about her, because I'm sure there are people in my audience who may not know her.
She's Chuck Cooper's daughter. She's about her physical being. She's about 5'10". She walks in unassuming, but shoulders back, head up, gorgeous, just so unpretentious. And then she is a light. She engages everyone beautifully, makes you feel like you're the only one in the room when she's talking to you. She's young and timeless and mature. And then she opens her mouth when she sings.
Yeah.
And then it's like, pow.
I hear through the whole thing. I wasn't supposed to. And it's a true podcast, so no one can see. But every time like she would hit another note or do another thing, and I would hit her, I wouldn't hit her hard enough so that she would move. I didn't want to do that. But I had to like smack her or whatever. And it couldn't be audible. So, I had to be careful, but I needed her to know, and she would I could see her side-eyeing me. And she sang, what is the song? Paul
from the live.
Andre DeShields walked in after because Lily was, she closed the show with that song. Andre DeShields floated in. He didn't walk in. He floated in, because he's a god.
Oh.
He said, "You are too young."
I love when he emotes, and then you're just like, Andre has spoken.
Yeah. But back to Lily.
Mm-hmm.
She is that kind of thing that, when you've interviewed a million people, right? And I've been around a million people. I've been around the greatest stars in the world. I've been around, I've traveled the world. And then you meet those people that you go, that's an actual star. That's a star. That's not a popular person. That's not someone who's a rifferina or someone who just won the Riff Olympics. Or do you know what I mean? It's, how many notes can I hit in one bar? It doesn't matter. You can impress me. I mean, how high can we sing? How low can we sing? I want you to touch me. And this girl does all of that.
That's beautiful.
She does all of that. I mean, it feels nice to say this about someone and actually really, really mean it.
That's beautiful.
Harriette, I'm telling you, this girl's out of control.
I can't wait to hear her. So
you're coming, right? Are you coming?
Yes.
Out of control. It's nuts.
So Paul, who are the other performers and why did you choose them?
Those are my two Broadway girls, my divas. And so my concept was I wanted to get a couple of names from Broadway and a couple of names from jazz and, and mix it up. Hillary Cole is a regular at Birdland. She has a residency at Birdland. Incredible voice. She's sung everywhere, Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center. And Madeline Perot is one of the most popular jazz artists. She does 250 nights a year. Huge following in the jazz community. So I'm really lucky that I have four real powerhouse singers. Sometimes I'll put together a show and you'll want a singer because she has a connection to the subject or, she knew Billie Holiday. In this case, I have just four powerhouse singers. I mean, their voices, and they're all different. The voices are all different. But you'll see when you come see the show, it's just, it's going to be, I'm very excited to see it all come together. And again, we're paying tribute to these four incredible women. I have four incredible women of today singing about these four legendary jazz figures.
I'm curious about young folks today and their awareness and interest in jazz. And, being, again, at Hunter, where everybody is there from all walks of life, how large of a community do you see among young folks paying attention to jazz, wanting to learn about the artist, performing jazz?
Well, Ryan Kimberly, his orchestra, he has a big band orchestra that's playing the show. Ryan is actually the head of our jazz department at Hunter. And we have a really robust jazz program. we have a lot of students in the jazz program, but we also have a very active jazz student band. And they play a lot of concerts, sometimes very informal, just like pop up in the hallway and start playing. And so, and in terms of sort of who's, weathering time, who's passing down from generation to generation, I teach Billie I teach English at Hunter College, and I always teach Strange Fruit because as a poem as opposed to a song. And I would say when I bring her up, half to 3/4 of the class always know who Billie Holiday is.
Good.
Always. And many of them have heard Strange Fruit and know the legacy, the civil rights legacy, because she really was a precursor to the civil rights movement. She recorded that song in 1939. So she was, Ahmet Ertegun said she was the first shot. She fired the first shot in the civil rights movement with that song.
Now, when you mentioned that song, Paul, in light of current events, I mean,
right.
There was a student hanged a week or so ago.
I know.
And
all of the shootings, what is that but a form of lynching, when you shoot someone in the back while they're, just living their life.
in teaching this poem and explaining her as being a precursor to civil rights and knowing what's happening today, what are those conversations like with your students? Because I'm teaching students and having some very uncomfortable but important conversations because of what's happening in our world today.
Well, obviously my students quickly make the connection that, and I point out that song was written as a result of all the lynchings in the 20s, because by the 20s was the first decade, but the 30s it was obviously still going on, and the American Congress had started debating federal legislation, anti-lynching legislation. And I make the point to them that, okay, the Congress started debating this back in the 20s and the 30s. Do you know which president signed the anti-lynching legislation? Joe Biden. It took America almost a century to decide that we, the country, want to make a stand against lynching. And when you make that point to them, they just get it, and also a lot of them get it because of their own lived lives. They've encountered all kinds of, discrimination and racism and whatnot. And because we're such a diverse community, we have to deal with this all the time. But that's why I teach at Hunter. I've taught at other schools. I choose to teach at Hunter, in part because of our student body.
Yeah. I mean, I have to tell you, for the 6 years that I was teaching there, I was so impressed by meeting students from literally all walks of life. And many of them were either first generation or they had come from their countries to go to college there. And, part of the time that I was there was when the Ukraine conflict was beginning. And there were Ukrainian students, and we were talking about, how do you talk to folks if their families are in another country and they might get blown up tomorrow? There are all kinds of things that when we think about humanity globally, what happens? And I think part of what happens in the arts is that we have an opportunity to think about, communicate, sing, perform about some very sensitive topics that might be harder, to address when it's not through an artistic platform, which is why this is probably so important now.
We're also very lucky that we have a new president, Nancy Cantor, who has a long history. She's devoted her career to advancing, diversity and support of the arts in particular. She's very well known for her support of the arts. And so really, I'm able to do what I do at Hunter because of her now, because she supports the arts so strongly. She'll be there on October the 8th in the evening to see what we put together for her. But I don't see Hunter changing in the future. We're going to continue to do what we do.
Excellent. Hey guys, this is Dream Leapers with Harriette Cole. We are talking about this wonderful performance, Women in Jazz. It's coming on October 8th. Is it, and where at Hunter College is it?
It's at the Danny Kaye Playhouse, which is a beautiful 624-seat house, almost completely sold out. So there are a few tickets left, but you need to buy them now.
What's the website for people to go to?
It's just Google Danny Kaye Playhouse, and it'll come up.
It's
on 68th Street between Lex and Park. It's right. It's right on our main campus.
Excellent. So, Maya, I want to talk about you. You've been a Broadway performer for many years, and I had the opportunity a few years ago, pre-COVID. Now we live in pre-COVID, post-COVID life,
right? Absolutely.
Pre-COVID, I did a lot of work with the Broadway League, and it was we created something called Black to Broadway, and with a focus on being more inclusive. I mean, they recognize that, you know, Broadway being called the Great White Way, well, sometimes that has another meaning, and that there needed to be some efforts to really expand the opportunity for people of color to be involved. And then during COVID, 2 other organizations grew up and are really making a big presence for helping to mentor young people of color. What have you seen in terms of progress, evolution, as it relates to not just being on stage like yourself, but the many roles that there can be on Broadway? And do you feel like it's more welcoming to Blacks and others of color today?
I don't think anybody has a choice. You want to, I mean, you know, good luck with that. Good luck with like promoting that you know, first of all, DEI, and the only reason why I am bringing that up is because it's ridiculous. Okay, because if anyone ever wanted to say to me, well, you got that job because of DEI, I'd say, okay, let's have an IQ test right now. Right now, you and me, let's go. And we can talk about whether I got any job. And this is outside of performing on a stage, right? Let's talk about if I got this job because I'm brown, or just simply because I have the mental capacity for this job. Please don't ever question that about, you know, that's number one. And I know that I'm going away from the question that you just asked me.
It's all right.
That's that kind of stuff, because for one thing, you know, I was told that I can't curse. But when we start talking about like what's going on right now,
I know. You just have to think of those words you say around little kids.
Because it's just not, there's not going to be any thoughts or prayers or any forgiveness or any, you know, oh my God, you know, I forgive touch my son. And I'm telling you, I'm warning you, it's not going to be good. It will not be good. So I'm doing everything I can to be really kind right now and be very wonderful. But I also want young people, if you are watching, to understand, of course, you maintain your integrity. Of course, you do all that kind of stuff. But being passive is not great.
No.
It's just not. It's just not. People don't respond to that. They just don't. So, do you know, I mean, again,
I hear you. Look, let me share something, and this is a segue to you, Paul. You know, it's been the UN recently here, and I actually have not even been watching.
By the way, I was the one that turned off the escalator. No, I'm just kidding.
So I had turned off the news, like for the summer. I watched the news. I didn't read the newspaper. I just said, I have to have a mental, spiritual cleanse. And then, you know, now we're back and I turned it on, and I happened to turn on the news when 47 was speaking to the UN. And I was so embarrassed. I don't know whether you heard it, but
the whole world was embarrassed.
He's insulted the people that he was standing before. He insulted the building. The degree to which the insults were flying was just it shouldn't be unbelievable because it's a pylon, but it was, because this is the United States of America, and we are known for having good manners and having decorum and basics. And Paul, to you have written a book about John McCain.
Yeah.
And I want to, it is called Man of the People, The Life of John McCain. And I want to say, number one, I was not politically a John McCain fan. I didn't believe in a lot of the things that he believed in, but he was a man of integrity. Mm-hmm. And I mean, many of us will remember when he stood up in that public forum and corrected the woman who
took that microphone from her.
And who was trying to say that Barack Obama was less than human, and he was not having it. In this world of, where the gloves are off and people just are having no decorum, who was John McCain, and why is his legacy important for people to know moving forward?
Well, in my career, I spent, first of all, I started writing about politics when John Kennedy Jr. hired me to write for George magazine. Remember George?
Yes.
I wrote for the whole time John was alive. I wrote for George, had a piece in the first issue and 2 issues before he died. And then after that, I went to Rolling Stone and wrote for them for about 8 or 9 years. And so part of my sort of core of what I do is cover politics in the past, and I would do I would cover Democrats, I would cover Republicans, and John McCain was just one of those unique characters in that he always stood for integrity. John McCain told, and I interviewed him probably because I also had a radio show back then, which he did all the time. So between the pieces I wrote about him, the book, and the radio, I probably interviewed him 20 or 25 times. And every time, whatever he said is what he believed. Whatever he told you he was going to do, he would do it. If he said he would be there at 6 o'clock, he would be there at 5:59. He was just one of those type. And he based his whole career on his integrity, in part because he came from a military family. His father was a 4-star admiral, his grandfather was a 4-star admiral, and he was on track to be a 4-star admiral until he got shot down in Vietnam and was held captive for 5 years and tortured, which is why he could never raise his arms. He couldn't comb his hair because he couldn't raise his arms high enough. And
47 insulted him about having
military service. That was one of the most disappointing comments because I've spent a lot of time with him. I knew where he stood on a lot of. Now, did I disagree? Did I agree with him on all of his political positions? No, but I did a lot of them. And he was remarkable because at one point he was very questioning of climate. The climate crisis, and he and Hillary Clinton would go yearly up to the North Pole on a Senate expedition, and they would go track the melting of the ice caps. And he said that's what convinced him, because he went up, he could actually see, it was melting. And then he changed his position and became a real strong advocate for climate change. And so that's the kind of politician that he was. And unfortunately,
so he was a thinking man. This is the thing. We evolve over time if we're paying attention and processing what happens before our eyes, right? I mean, that's life. Mm-hmm. That should be. You shouldn't be stuck in one place. If you see something different, then you've learned something and then you can grow. That's the idea of being a learner. And I love that you're describing that about him, because this is how we're all supposed to be. We're supposed to grow.
We're supposed to have a debate. There should be debate without the animosity that comes from it. And that's what he stood for, in my opinion. I'm just saying American politics we miss him.
It's not politics, though, folks. It's not politics. It's a circus. It's a clown show. It's entertainment. It's a reality show. It's resonating with all the clowns. I said it. All the clowns. Only the clowns that want to be in the circus resonate with that hatred, with the insults, with just the lack of any degree of couth. That, I mean, it's the most disgusting, filthy thing I've ever seen in my lifetime, and including being the bowels of any society. I've never seen anybody so filthy, honestly. I really haven't. I mean that, and it's scaring. And not any one person. I didn't mean to say one person. I meant to say
not just one person. That's right? The thing. It's not.
That's the thing. It's not. And what
this is a playbook that was created a long time ago, and they've just figured out who is best to
facilitate it.
Right.
That's right. To facilitate it. And again, all right. So we can. This is. I'm going to close my political statement with this, because then I am going to start getting really crazy. But the thing is there needs to be balance, because I will say this: the extremes on both sides are destroying us. It's not just the bright, horrifying red, but it's also the bright, horrifying blue. The extremes are destroying us. We need balance. There needs to be balance. And it's not even a political thing anymore. It's not Democrat versus Republican. It's not even liberal or conservative. It's like crazies versus crazies, and they're the loudest. That's the problem. They're the loudest and the most passionate, I feel like. So they're heard the most. And then that resonates with those people that do not have the intellectual capacity to understand that it is fanatical and that it is cult behavior. Honestly, I was just watching something on Charles Manson last night. There's a new Netflix thing. How he got all these women to just go, kill, okay, and do it, and then giggle and laugh.
But so to that point, Maya, when you mention the clowns, some of them are who you call the clowns, but others are followers and people who don't necessarily understand what their moral compass is, and so they follow because there's a charismatic personality out there, and so there are things that we need to do, and your program is occurring on a college campus, and I think that is what is so important, because these are young, bright minds who, if you are in college, it's because you are curious to learn something. You are there because you want to enhance your life and hopefully the lives of other people. There is a curiosity that usually comes with people who invest that time and those resources into going to college. I'm curious, Paul, because you've worked in the college system for some time. What do you think we can do, and not just people working in colleges, but all of us, what can we do to help guide or strengthen the moral compass of young people who are the next generation, who are our future?
Well, that's one thing I'm currently teaching a queer literature class at Hunter. And that's one thing I stress to my students all the time, that first of all, I'm surprised at how little they know about the history of the gay movement. And so we try to rectify that. But I explain to them all the time, we've done as much as we can. The future is yours, and you guys have got to pick up the baton. You've got to go with it. You've got to stand up for what we believe is right. And you've got to be, vocal. You've got to be heard. But you got to be diligent. We can't be passive. We have to be active. Our voice has to be heard. And so I think they've gotten that message.
Well, what does that look like, Paul? What does being active look like when literally standing up and having a voice can lose you your job, can ostracize you, can affect your income? I mean, this is real for all of us. What is standing in harm's way look like today? Well,
I don't think the kids that I'm teaching are not quite there yet. I think that other faculty members and other, political figures around the country are having to deal with that. I just want them to know that they have it's their responsibility to carry on the message that we carried on through the civil rights movement, through the women's movement, through the gay rights movement, that there is a journey ahead for them, that they've inherited all of the accomplishments that we were able to achieve. And yes, there are setbacks along the way. You know what politics is? Politics, it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And so you got to keep making the 2 steps forward to compensate for the 1 step back. And so that's my message to them, that they need to look at role models, the Billie Holidays, the Gloria Steinems, and follow in their path, so that their voice can be heard in the future.
Excellent. Hey guys, this is Dream Leapers with Harriette Cole. We just have a few minutes left. We are sitting here right now talking with Maya Days and Paul Alexander, who have a performance coming up this weekend, Women in Jazz. It's a concert hosted by Hunter College, celebrating the careers of Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, Lena Horne, and more, as well as Billie Holiday's papers that they have now in their jazz archive. This is so exciting. Maya, yes.
So, darling, what I just wanted to say, I said I was going to close with that political statement. I lied.
That's okay.
Because, so I'm going to bring up Mr. Newsom, Governor Newsom, because, listen, you and I both know, and Paul is very well aware of this, but when you look like Gavin and you have the voice that he has, that's the thing. You and I can yell from the mountaintops about what is unjust. We're whining. We're not over what happened, blah, blah, blah. But when Gavin does it, people are like, oh, maybe he has a point. Mm-hmm. Wait a minute. And again, yes, you're holding, having your integrity, going high and all that other stuff. But sometimes you got to meet fire with fire, not to be as ignorant or as hateful, but it's like a Martin X or Malcolm King. Do you know what I mean? Like, we need that, because you do need integrity along with fire. I have to tell you, I am old enough to where I took a sociology class and they told me that the Black Panthers and homosexuality was radical behavior. And I looked at the professor and I said, way back then, I said, wait a minute, what did you just say? In class. And because he had a list of different behaviors, and under radical behavior was homosexuality. And I think he wrote he did write Black Panthers. And I said, how is that radical? I said, what came first, the chicken or the egg? What came first, the Klan or the Panthers? The Panthers are a reaction to an action. And everybody whines about that. And that's what this whole party is that. This whole party is
so interesting, Maya, just what happened in this country a few days ago with the pushback against Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh my God.
Let go. And what people saw is that organizing and standing up for what you believe can work. And I think that people may have been giving up. Maybe it doesn't matter what we say, things are going to proceed. This negative wave is going to take over. And I think that there's hope to show that the way that people protest in this country can have an impact. And I'm hoping that that's one of the things that people will be able to see. And because it happened and it had an impact and immediate, less than a week. That's pretty quick for an impact to occur. I think there's a lot more to unpack about all of the things that are going on around this volatile subject, but that was a positive thing. As we wind down, because we just have a couple of more minutes, I want to bring it back to the arts. And Paul, what impact do you believe the arts have today and have had over history in terms of opening people's eyes to the issues that are at the core of humanity?
Oh, I think, though, can you imagine what the political life in this country would be, with the cultural life without the arts, without, it's a venue through which you can express your own deeply held opinions and emotions. And I go back to Billie. She didn't have to record Strange Fruit. that was a choice that she made, and she knew exactly what was going to happen to her when she recorded it. You know, her good friend
her life
Lester
was in danger as a result of it.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
of course, and her good friend Lester Young was almost lynched. You know, so I think that through, you know, making art that does have a political impact, you can affect change in this country. She certainly did. I mean, Time Magazine voted that song the most important song of the 20th century. And so this one, you know, single woman born in Philadelphia, raised in Baltimore, grew up in Harlem to become a singer. You know, she had such an impact on American culture because of that one song. So
will
you
we
can
be
make
hearing
that
that? Paul, will we be hearing that song at the concert?
No, I have a real issue. Strange fruit is only done in very particular cases. It's that kind of
right. It's a rights issue.
No, it's, for me, it's almost a religious song.
Ooh,
And
okay.
so I revere that song, and there's only there are very particular occasions when that song should be sung, in my opinion. I think feels the same way too.
I am right there with you. It is a religion. It's an absolute message. It's not a performance.
Well, no. and understood. Well, we have come to the end of this broadcast, but I want to say thank you to Maya Days and Paul Alexander. Their program, their wonderful program, Women in Jazz, is going to be on, tell us what day?
October the 8th at the Kaye Playhouse at Hunter College, 7 p.m. Come
Yay!
see Maya Days. She's going to be spectacular.
Well, we'll see you there. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. You are a light. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all of you for joining in. I hope that you were as inspired as I, and there may be a few more tickets available. Check it out. Women in Jazz at Hunter College. Until next time, have a great day and make it count.